All right, hello there, Redwood A pushers. Picking up where we left off. So, last chapter, in chapter 5, we had the American Revolution, and now we have a country. Which is nice because now we can say the United States and Americans. So, that's a sigh of relief for us. Okay, at the beginning of the country after the Revolution, even before the Revolution had formally ended, and with the Treaty of Paris, we have the Articles of Confederation that was drafted, was approved by representatives from the different states. And basically, what the Articles of Confederation was think of it as like a loose affiliation of friends, essentially. And so there's no strong central government. They're kind of on the honor system in many ways. Each state had one vote, which, as you can imagine, if each person has one vote, that can make it kind of difficult to get stuff done. Um, States really remain sovereign, meaning that they continue to have power within themselves, and there's no overarching kind of um, federal government or parent government, if you will, to look over them and kind of put them in check. So we have a lot of kind of squabbling, kind of sibling rivalry between the two, or between the 13 different states. Some things that were wrong with Articles of Confederation, and that's what we really want to focus on because obviously it's going to get thrown out and replaced by the actual Constitution. Um, Congress was not given the ability to tax, and I should say the Articles of Confederation was basically just a Congress. It did not have an executive branch. It didn't have a president. It didn't have a judicial system, a judiciary either. So it was just more of a legislative body, so kind of like a Congress. So they could not levy taxes or raise taxes. Therefore, they could not effectively pay off their debt that they had incurred over the Revolution. And so that's going to be a problem. We do see southern states paying their debt back first, as opposed to northern states, and that's going to be a point of contention later. Um, and the central government, again, this Articles of Confederation that does exist. The states, if they disagree with them, they don't like what they're saying, they'd pretty much just say, screw you. We're not going to listen. We're going to continue to do our own thing. So states really, as I said, sibling rivalry goes on, and they distrust each other. There's also economic chaos as prices are rising, debts increase, debts weren't paid. If you were a Pennsylvania farmer and you went to sell your goods in Virginia, Virginia didn't have the same currency as you, so you would be kind of out of luck in that situation. So basically, just remember the Articles of Confederation was the first attempt at government. It failed, and it's going to be replaced by the actual Constitution. So here's Mr. Vieira to continue.
All right, so there's a couple of rebellions that we're going to cover in this chapter, and we're going to be brief and really focus on not so much what happened, but why it's relevant. So the first is Shays' Rebellion. And ultimately, what happened was the economic chaos that was created by the Articles of Confederation and the general lack of a central federal government leads to this revolt in Massachusetts. A guy by the name of Daniel Shays leads an assault on a courthouse. What he wants is the state governments to help with farmers paying their debt because they were just drowning in debt. So they start to attack tax collectors, and they really sort of harness this spirit of 1776. They feel like this is a second revolution, and the rebellion spreads. Now it's going to be shut down. It'll be several men will be imprisoned. Daniel Shays will be arrested and thrown in jail. He's eventually going to be pardoned. But why Shays' Rebellion is really significant is that it shows that the federal government, that the central government of the United States of America is not working. And that this economic chaos that's taking place, the fact that the states can't really control their citizens, they can't really control their economies, proves that there needed to be some oversight of the state governments. And in the opinion of the leaders of several of the really important states, they're going to need change. So again, Shays' Rebellion, relevant because it shows the need for a stronger central government. And that will lead to the Constitutional Convention. So we're going to kind of go back and forth here between myself and Mr. Eskridge, but here he is again.
All right, hey guys. Okay, so the Constitutional Convention comes about because leaders throughout the 13 different states realize that the Articles of Confederation just is not working. It's not effective in taxing. It's not effective in producing a common currency. Although Washington did send troops and put down Shays' Rebellion, it was kind of difficult to get an armed force there quickly. to put down this internal rebellion. And so leaders in the 13 different states met and in Philadelphia in the summer of 1786 or 1787, excuse me, with the main goal of kind of reworking the Articles of Confederation, trying to fix these issues, these problems that it had. As you read about in your reading, James Madison has a completely different plan. He produces this really detailed research project over the course of a couple of years, in which he looks at different republics around the world. And what his plan is basically to do is to just scrap the entire Articles of Confederation and come up with something completely new and original, and something that he sees would actually address these problems, these shortcomings of the Articles of Confederation. Okay, so we have 55 delegates. These are known kind of in our American icons as the founding fathers. Characteristically, they're mostly young, mostly wealthy elites in their 30s, mid 30s, late 30s, early 40s. Again, they agree to quickly scrap the Articles of Confederation after hearing Madison's argument. Some people are reluctant to do so, but they decide, hey, let's give it a go. Some issues do arise during that convention, and we start to see different factions within the convention start to kind of coalesce or start to group into two camps. And so we have the Virginia Plan, as proposed by Madison, in which there would be the three branches of government, so the legislative, executive, and judicial branch, with the power to act differently, with different responsibilities. And they would also kind of put a check on each other. And again, as we go through these ideas, we're going to see them in the Enlightenment thinkers have proposed these ideas. So it's nothing really new. It's just putting all these Enlightenment ideas together. That's going to be the new thing. And then, as opposed to the Virginia Plan, we have the New Jersey Plan, or the Joyce Plan, which really favored, as New Jersey is a much smaller state than Virginia, is going to favor kind of like a stronger Congress, and really, they're trying to get their voice heard, and they don't want to be silenced by larger populous states like Virginia, Pennsylvania, New York, et cetera. And so that's the New Jersey Plan, which establishes a bicameral system, or two house Congress, with the Senate being the upper house, with with each state has two senators. They can vote independently, and then the House of Representatives is based on representation, and that's the lower house, and they have a little bit less control. So that's pretty much where we are. But kind of just note that at this convention, we're starting to see these divisions. Another thing to note is the importance of the Three-Fifths Compromise. And so we do have the institution of slavery written into the document. And so the institution of slavery is protected by the Constitution up to this point. And we also see that in the foreign trade of importation of slaves would end in 1808, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later on. But I'm going to turn it back to Mr. V for the rest.
All right, so I'm going to cover kind of the different political factions that are formed during this time period. You have the Federalists and the Anti-Federalists. The really important thing to note is that there was a group of individuals that felt that the Constitution as it is written was appropriate, strong enough document, and they want to push towards ratification. They want to push towards signing it, getting it into law, and carrying on the work of the government. That group was called the Federalists. The group in opposition to that, and who have more conservative views of the government's role in society, they believe that the Constitution really betrayed the whole reason that they had a revolution, being that there was this strong central government that would be housed in, at the time, New York City, that would kind of limit the rights of the states and therefore the rights of the individuals. So you begin to see these two factions. Now, we're going to stop short of calling these political parties, because they really weren't political parties in the modern sense, but they're groups of the founding fathers who are debating these ideas and debating what should be the course of action. Alexander Hamilton, James Madison, and John Jay write a series of articles known as the Federalist Papers, in which they write these anonymously, but they support passage of the U.S. Constitution as it is written. Now, the Anti-Federalists are going to be strong voices, and we will have ratification, but not without some more compromise.